The old house at the end of Willow Street had always been a topic of hushed conversations and fearful glances. It stood, decrepit and overgrown, shrouded in a cloak of legends that whispered of restless spirits and unexplainable phenomena. As a curious soul drawn to the mysterious and uncharted, I couldn't resist the pull of the haunted house any longer. One chilly autumn morning, armed with a camera and a brave facade, I stood before the weathered gates. The wind carried a faint, mournful tune, as if the very breeze held the echoes of the house's secrets. The wooden boards creaked underfoot as I approached the front porch, my heart thudding in rhythm with each step. I hesitated at the threshold, my hand trembling as I pushed the door open. The air inside was heavy, a blend of dust and decay that clung to the faded wallpaper. Moonlight filtered through the cracked windows, casting a ghostly glow on the dilapidated furniture. It was as if time had stopped within these walls, freezing the remnants of lives lived long ago. With each room I explored, a sense of anticipation mingled with unease. The floorboards groaned beneath my feet, as if the house itself protested my intrusion. My camera's flash illuminated the darkness, capturing fleeting glimpses of forgotten memories and fleeting shadows that seemed to dart out of sight as soon as they were captured. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the house into a realm of shadows, I found myself drawn to a narrow staircase that led to the upper floors. The steps seemed to protest each footfall, but I pressed on, determined to uncover the heart of the haunting legends that clung to this place. The upper hallway was cloaked in darkness, the moonlight offering only glimpses of what lay ahead. The air felt colder, the atmosphere thick with an energy that made my skin prickle. A soft sound echoed through the hallway, a faint whisper, like a half-remembered dream. Following the whisper, I entered a room at the end of the corridor. The moonlight filtered through a broken window, revealing a room frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture sat untouched, as if waiting for the return of occupants who would never come. My gaze was drawn to a faded portrait hanging on the wall, a family with smiling faces that belied the darkness of the house. As I turned to leave, a chill swept over me, the air growing frigid. The whisper returned, clearer this time, forming words that sent a shiver down my spine. "Help us," it pleaded, a chorus of voices that seemed to come from all directions. The walls themselves seemed to reverberate with the plea. I felt a weight settle on my shoulders, a sense of responsibility that transcended the bounds of reason. It was as if the spirits that lingered within the house were reaching out, seeking solace and release. With a newfound determination, I spoke aloud, promising to uncover the truth and offer them the peace they sought. As my words echoed through the room, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew lighter, and the moonlight brightened, casting a warm glow. The whispering ceased, replaced by a sense of gratitude and farewell. I knew then that the house was no longer haunted by restless spirits, but held within its walls a sense of closure. With the dawn's light, I stepped out of the house, the weight of the experience still lingering. The haunted house at the end of Willow Street was no longer a place of dread, but a testament to the power of human connection, even across the boundaries of life and death. And as I walked away, I carried with me not just memories, but a profound understanding of the stories that linger within the places we fear the most. The old hotel stood at the edge of town, a relic of a bygone era. Its grand facade was a testament to the elegance of days long past, but time had not been kind to its once luxurious interior. I checked in hesitantly, my excitement tinged with a sense of foreboding. The lobby was dimly lit, the chandelier overhead casting eerie shadows that danced along the faded wallpaper. A sense of nostalgia mingled with an unsettling stillness, as if the hotel held its breath, waiting for something to happen. The receptionist handed me a tarnished key with a tight-lipped smile, her eyes betraying a silent warning. As I ascended the creaking staircase, each step seemed to echo through the empty corridors. The air was heavy with a musty scent, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. My room was adorned with ancient furnishings covered in dusty sheets, and the windows offered a view of overgrown gardens that seemed frozen in time. As night fell, I settled into bed, the soft rustling of curtains and distant creaks of the floorboards creating a lullaby of the past. But sleep proved elusive, as whispers crept through the room like a haunting melody. I strained to catch the words, my heart racing with a mixture of fear and fascination. With a sudden gust of wind, the curtains billowed, revealing a figure standing by the window. Her long, flowing dress and antique hairstyle placed her firmly in another era. She stared at me, her eyes empty yet brimming with an unspoken story. My voice caught in my throat as I watched her form dissolve into mist, leaving an inexplicable sadness in its wake. Determined to uncover the truth behind the hotel's secrets, I spent the next day exploring its forgotten corners. In the dusty library, I discovered faded photographs of guests from decades ago, their smiles frozen in time. The ballroom's grandeur was still evident, though its chandeliers now hung crooked and draped with cobwebs. As I delved deeper, I learned of a tragedy that had befallen the hotel long ago. A ball had been held to celebrate a joyous occasion, but the night had turned into a nightmare when a fire broke out. The guests, trapped by the flames and smoke, had perished within the hotel's walls. Among them was a young woman, the very figure I had seen by the window. Armed with this knowledge, I returned to my room as darkness once again settled. The air felt charged with a solemn energy, and the whispers grew more pronounced. I spoke aloud, addressing the apparition I believed to be the woman from the past. With each word, her presence seemed to strengthen, her form materializing before me. Through the whispers, I pieced together her story. A tragic love that had ended in heartache, a life cut short in the flames. The air was heavy with sorrow as she recounted her memories, and I felt an overwhelming urge to provide solace, to somehow help her find peace. As dawn broke, the room was bathed in a soft, warm light. The woman's figure stood by the window, her expression serene. A sense of closure washed over me, a feeling that I had helped free her from the hotel's haunting grip. With a final bittersweet smile, she faded away, leaving behind a lingering sense of gratitude. The old hotel felt different now, as if its walls held stories of not just tragedy, but also redemption. As I left, I couldn't help but look back, knowing that the old hotel's mysteries would forever remain etched in my memories. Hotel room 413 was infamous among the staff and guests, a place where nightmares seemed to take physical form. It was said that anyone who stayed there would be tormented by vivid, terrifying dreams that left a lingering sense of dread long after waking. As I stepped into the room, a shiver ran down my spine. The air was heavy, charged with an energy that seemed to vibrate against my skin. The room was dimly lit, the flickering light bulbs casting unsettling shadows on the walls. The bed was neatly made, but an aura of unease hung over it like a dark cloud. Night fell and I lay in bed, my heart pounding with a mixture of curiosity and anxiety. As I closed my eyes, the room seemed to come alive. Whispers echoed through the air, voices that seemed to come from all directions at once. The walls seemed to pulse and shift, as if breathing in time with my racing heart. In the depths of sleep, the nightmares came. Faces twisted in agony, scenes of unspeakable horror that played out in vivid detail. I woke in a cold sweat, my heart still racing, the echoes of the dreams etched into my mind. Each time I closed my eyes, I was pulled back into the same nightmarish landscape. Days turned into nights and the cycle continued. Sleep became a realm of terror, and even when awake, the feeling of being watched never left me. Objects moved on their own, shadows seemed to have a life of their own, and the air grew thick with a palpable malevolence. In a desperate attempt to break free from the room's grip, I sought out the hotel's history. It was then that I learned of a tragic event that had occurred in that very room. A guest had lost their life under mysterious circumstances, their spirit said to be trapped in a cycle of torment. Armed with this knowledge, I confronted the room one last time. As I lay down, I whispered words of empathy and understanding, acknowledging the pain that had turned the space into a nightmare. The whispers seemed to soften, the shadows receding slightly. That night, as I closed my eyes, I was met with a different dream. This one was bittersweet, a glimpse into the past that mingled sorrow and forgiveness. The face that had once twisted in agony now held a fleeting smile. The room itself seemed to sigh, as if releasing a heavy burden it had carried for far too long. Morning arrived and the air felt lighter, the room's malevolent aura replaced with a sense of melancholic peace. As I left the room for the last time, I couldn't help but look back, knowing that whatever had haunted the space had found a measure of release. Hotel room 413 remained a place of the unknown, its history and mysteries known only to those who had experienced its haunting embrace. And as I walked away, I carried with me not just a sense of fear, but a newfound understanding of the thin veil that separates the living from the realms beyond and the stories that linger in the spaces in between. The rain fell in relentless sheets as I navigated the unfamiliar streets, my GPS guiding me through the labyrinth of dimly lit roads. I was a food delivery driver, a job that usually offered mundane nights filled with quick drop-offs and routine interactions. But tonight, as I made my way to a remote location on the outskirts of town, a sense of unease settled in the pit of my stomach. The address led me to a dilapidated house at the end of a long, winding driveway. The place seemed to sag under the weight of years gone by, its windows dark and lifeless. Despite the rain, a chill ran down my spine as I approached the front door, my footsteps echoing in the silence. I knocked, my knuckles rapping against the wood in a hollow rhythm. For a moment, there was only the sound of rain pounding against the roof and the distant rumble of thunder. Just as I was about to turn and leave, the door creaked open, revealing a figure shrouded in darkness. The customer's voice was barely a whisper as they gave me instructions to leave the food on the doorstep. The request struck me as odd. Why had they ordered food if they weren't going to open the door? But the unease that had settled in my gut compelled me to comply without question. As I placed the bag on the doorstep, I caught a glimpse of the figure's eyes, glinting like polished onyx in the dim light. There was something about their gaze, something that sent a shiver down my spine. I muttered a hasty farewell and turned to leave, my footsteps quickening as I made my way back to my car. The drive back to the main road was a blur of rain-slicked asphalt and haunting thoughts. Something about that encounter felt off, a dissonance that defied explanation. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just stepped into the fringes of a story far darker than I could fathom. A few days later, curiosity and a hint of fear led me to research the address. What I discovered sent a chill down my spine. The house had a history of disappearances and unexplained events that stretched back decades. Locals spoke of strange lights seen in the windows at night and whispered tales of the house being cursed. Despite the mounting sense of dread, I couldn't resist the pull of the story. I returned to the house, my heart pounding as I stood before the same front door that had sent shivers down my spine before. This time I hesitated before knocking, my thoughts racing with 1,000 what-ifs. The door swung open slowly, revealing the same figure, their eyes dark and unreadable. This time, however, there was something different about the atmosphere. The air felt charged, the energy heavy with a kind of power I couldn't comprehend. I found my voice and asked about the strange encounter from a few nights prior, the food left untouched. The figure's gaze seemed to penetrate my very thoughts as they spoke. They recounted a tale of a restless spirit, trapped within the house's walls, seeking solace and release. The food, it seemed, had been a way to communicate, a gesture that held a deeper meaning than I could have ever imagined. As the rain continued to fall, the figure's story unfolded, revealing a tragedy that had haunted the house for years. They spoke of love lost, of a promise broken, of a life cut short. The rain outside seemed to echo their sorrow, a mournful backdrop to the tale of a spirit caught between worlds. With a heavy heart, I left the house that day, my thoughts consumed by the stories I had heard. The encounter had been unsettling, yes, but it had also been a reminder of the hidden depths within the ordinary. As I drove away, I couldn't help but wonder about the stories that lingered within every doorstep, every house and every corner of the world, waiting to be uncovered by those willing to listen. Its weathered barn and decaying farmhouse stood as a testament to forgotten times, their structures looming over the land like silent sentinels. It was a place I had heard stories about since childhood, tales of strange noises, unexplained phenomena, and a history that seemed tainted by darkness. One misty autumn morning, driven by equal parts curiosity and trepidation, I found myself standing at the edge of the farm's overgrown path. The air was damp and heavy with a sense of foreboding, as if the very land held the memories of past inhabitants. As I ventured further, the grass grew taller, as if nature itself was attempting to reclaim the land. The barn was my first destination. Its wooden doors were half open, revealing a darkness that seemed to stretch beyond what the eye could perceive. With a deep breath, I stepped inside, my flashlight cutting through the gloom. The air was musty and the wooden beams groaned overhead. Old tools and rusted equipment lay scattered around, remnants of a life once lived. But it was the sound that caught my attention, the soft scurrying of tiny feet. My flashlight revealed rats darting through the shadows, their eyes reflecting the light in a sinister dance. The barn's atmosphere grew stifling, as if the walls themselves were closing in on me, suffocating me with the weight of forgotten memories. Determined to explore the farmhouse, I ventured toward the weathered structure. The front door hung on its hinges, creaking ominously as I pushed it open. The interior was a landscape of decay. Cobwebs draped the corners and the floors were littered with debris. The remnants of a life once lived were scattered throughout, a haunting reminder of the past. In one room, I discovered a collection of faded photographs strewn across a dusty table. Smiling faces looked out from moments captured in time, a stark contrast to the eerie ambiance of the farm. But one photograph held my gaze, a family portrait with faces that seemed vaguely familiar, yet tinged with an unsettling darkness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself standing before the entrance to the basement. A chill ran down my spine as I descended the creaking stairs, my flashlight's beam piercing the inky blackness. The air grew colder, and a sense of unease settled over me, as if unseen eyes watched my every move. As the light swept across the room, I gasped. The walls were adorned with symbols, their meaning a mystery that sent shivers down my spine. Candles and dried herbs were arranged in a circle on the ground, a testament to rituals that had transpired within these walls. The room seemed to vibrate with a palpable energy, as if the very air held echoes of long-forgotten incantations. But the most unsettling discovery was yet to come. In a corner, hidden beneath a tattered blanket, I found a journal. Its pages were filled with frantic, disjointed entries, the handwriting growing more erratic as they went on. They spoke of visions, of a presence that whispered in the darkness, of a descent into madness that seemed inevitable. With a jolt, a noise echoed from the shadows, the sound of footsteps that seemed to draw closer. I turned, my heart pounding, my flashlight's beam revealing nothing but empty space. The footsteps grew louder, faster, their rhythm creating a sense of disorienting chaos. With a rush of adrenaline, I fled the basement, scrambling up the stairs and out into the cold night air. The farm seemed to sigh in response, as if releasing the grip it had held over me. I stumbled back along the overgrown path, my thoughts a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. The abandoned farm had lived up to its reputation, unveiling a history of darkness that had become ingrained in its very being. As I looked back one last time, I couldn't shake the feeling that the spirits of the past still lingered within those decaying walls, their stories etched into the very fabric of the place. And as I walked away, the memory of the farm's haunting presence would forever remain etched in my mind, a reminder that some places are best left undisturbed.